I never thought I would hear from her again after everything we went through. No, after everything she did, it felt like the silence between us had hardened into something permanent like concrete. But then 5 years later, my phone rang on a rainy Wednesday morning. I was halfway through my second cup of black coffee, staring out the kitchen window at the same backyard fence I had been meaning to fix for years. The number was not saved, but something in me knew not guess knew, and when I answered, all she said was my name. Just that, Ellis, and my hands started shaking. To be honest, I did not think I had anything left to feel about Lorna. I thought I had emptied myself of her a long time ago, like wringing out the last drop of water from a cloth. I told myself I had moved on, that I had healed. But hearing her voice, it was like a key had turned in some door I did not even know was still locked. I did not respond. Right away, I could not. My mind went quiet, but not peaceful, more like the kind of quiet before a storm hits. My heart was loud. Though loud enough, I thought she might hear it through the phone. She said my name again, softer this time, almost like an apology. I finally managed to say one word, why, and just like that, the weight of 5 years came crashing back. It is strange, you can build a new life, new routines, new grocery store, new job, even learn to smile at strangers again, and yet one voice from the past can make it all feel like it is built on sand. I had built a quiet life. I did not date much after her, not because I could not, but because I did not want to open doors. I might not be ready to walk through, my friends would ask, and I would just smile and change the subject. I would say I was happy. On my own, maybe that was true. Maybe I just needed it to be. But back then, before the silence, there were moments with Lorna that felt like sunlight on skin. You know what I mean? Those small, ordinary seconds where everything aligned. Sunday mornings with her feet on my lap, the sound of her laugh. When she found something stupidly funny, the way she always covered her mouth when she yawned like it was a secret. I thought we were building something. I truly did, until the distance crept in. It did not start with fights. It started with longer silences, missed calls, that moment when you look at someone and realize they are smiling more at their phone than at you. I did not catch on quickly. Maybe I did not want you have to understand. I loved her in that quiet, slow-burning way that convinces you it can survive anything. I did not question her late nights, her business trips, her changed passwords. I made excuses for her before she even gave any. I told myself it was just stress, just a phase, just life. But the truth does not need to shout, it whispers, and eventually it stops waiting to be heard. I still remember the moment I knew it was not anything dramatic. No lipstick on a collar, no text accidentally sent to me. It was a dinner she forgot we had planned. I had made her favorite lemon pepper salmon, extra dill, just the way she liked it. I lit a candle. I do not know why. I think I needed something soft to hold on to. But she never showed. No message, no call. I waited for 2 hours, the salmon going cold on the table, the candle burning down to nothing. She came home just past midnight, smelling like someone else's cologne. She did not lie, not that night. That was the worst part. She did not even try. She just looked at me with these tired, sad eyes and said I did not mean for it to happen, and that was it. No explanation, no names, no promises to fix it. She left 2 weeks later. I helped her pack. That is the kind of man I was then. I carried her suitcase down the stairs. I hugged her goodbye, and then I disappeared from my own life for a while. I do not remember much from that first year, just a lot of quiet, too much thinking, too many mornings where I woke up and forgot she was gone, only to remember as the coffee brewed. I moved cities, took a job that did not ask much of me, made small talk with coworkers, and pretended everything was fine. You would be surprised how easy it is to hide an entire heartbreak behind a polite smile and a busy calendar. But now she is back, and she did not call to apologize. She did not call to ask how I had been. She called because she needs something. What it is, I do not know yet. She would not say, only that it is important, that it is about something I deserve to know. Part of me wanted to hang up, another part wanted to scream, but the part that answered it just stood there frozen in my kitchen, listening to her breathe. And then quietly I said, okay, not because I forgave her, not because I missed her, but because some stories refuse to stay buried. And deep down I knew hers was not over. I did not sleep that night. I did not even try. I just sat at the kitchen table long after the sun had gone down, the untouched cup of tea growing colder by the hour. I kept replaying her voice in my head like it was some kind of code I was supposed to crack. It had a texture I could not place, strained but not broken, like she was holding something back, or maybe it was me imagining things again. I had a habit of doing that back when we were married, filling in the gaps for her when she did not give me answers, and now 5 years later I was falling into the same rhythm like muscle memory. She had asked to meet, said it had to be in person, somewhere public but quiet. We agreed on a little place outside of town, an old greenhouse turned cafe that sat on a ridge overlooking the woods. It used to be our spot. Back when things still felt good between us, Lorna liked how the sunlight poured through the glass ceiling in the mornings, and I liked that she liked it. Funny how that works. You start liking things not because they are yours, but because they make someone you love light up. I almost did not go. There were a dozen reasons not to. I had moved on or thought I had. I did not owe her anything. I did not need closure. But when you spend enough years living in silence, part of you starts craving the sound of unfinished sentences. You want to know where they would have gone. So when I got there early, the place looked exactly the same. Wooden tables tucked between old planters, quiet chatter floating from the corner, the woman behind. The counter was new, though. I ordered a coffee and took the seat closest to the window where I could see anyone coming up the gravel path. And I waited, and then there she was, Lorna. Her hair was shorter. She walked slower than I remembered, shoulders tense like the air itself was heavier around her. She was wearing one of those loose tone coats. She always liked soft fabric, big buttons. I used to tease her about how she always dressed like autumn no matter the season. She spotted me and paused for a second like she was not sure if she was supposed to keep going. Then she came in, the door jingled, and my chest tightened. She did not say anything right away, just sat across from me, folded her hands neatly on the table like it was a job interview, not a moment. 5 years in the making. Her eyes searched my face, not for affection. I do not think she expected that, but for something gentler than what she deserved. I did not give her anything, not yet. I was not sure you would come, she said eventually, voice thin and brittle like old paper. You did not leave me much choice, I replied. You said it was something I deserved to. No, she looked down, bit her lip. It is just I do not know how to start. I did not rush her. I did not want the version that was rehearsed. I wanted the truth, the kind that does not come out smooth, the kind that stumbles. She finally looked at me again, and what she said next landed like a stone in the center of a still lake. I did not leave because I fell in love with someone else, she said. I left because I was already gone inside. The words did not sting like I thought they would. They just made me feel tired, like someone had finally turned off a song that had been playing too long in the background. I know I hurt you, she continued, and nothing I say can undo that, but I need you to understand it was not about him, it was about me. I was scared of everything, of who I was becoming, of who we were becoming. I did not interrupt. There was no point. There is more, she said after a pause, but it is not something I can tell you here, not with people around. I need more than a conversation, Ellis. I need a day, just one, please. I stared out the window. The trees were turning gold, leaves drifting down like they always did this time of year. The last time we came here together, I remember her pressing her hand against the glass and whispering, do you think we will still be coming here when we are old? I remember saying, I do not see why not. She had smiled, but now I wonder if she already knew the answer back then. I looked back at her. Her face had changed in subtle ways, tiny lines around her eyes, a weariness I did not recognize, but there was something else too, something that felt like regret. I will give you the day, I said, but after that, no more ghosts. She nodded. No more ghosts. She reached for her coat, stood slowly, and added one more sentence before she left. There is something I need to return to you. And then she was gone again, this time by choice, and somehow that made it harder. The next morning, I did not rush. I let the kettle whistle longer than it needed to, stared at the steam curling upward until it disappeared. My breath felt like it followed the same path, rising, fading, gone. I was not anxious, not in the way I expected. There was a stillness in me, not peace, just quiet, that kind of quiet where your emotions have not caught up yet, like your soul is driving a few miles behind your body. She had asked for one day, not to relive anything, not to fix it, but to share something, she said, I deserved. And when someone uses that word deserve, it hangs in the air like a scent you cannot name. It makes you wonder what has been withheld. We agreed to meet at a park we used to visit once every autumn, a place just outside Elkhaven where the trees form a kind of tunnel, branches interlocking above the gravel path like fingers holding secrets. I had not been back since the divorce. Honestly, I had avoided anything that carried her fingerprint. Restaurants, roads, certain colors, even a particular song that once played while we drove in silence for an hour, holding hands and saying nothing. The past has its own geography. It is not just in memory, it is in street corners, soup flavors, old jackets that still carry their scent. You learn to navigate around it like broken glass. But that morning I did not avoid. I walked straight into it. She was already there, not on the bench where we used to sit, but standing a little off the path, facing away, looking at the trees. I watched her for a moment. She was not moving, like part of her was waiting to be given permission to exist in that place again. She held a small box in both hands carefully, like it was fragile. She did not turn. When I approached, this is going to sound dramatic, she said quietly, "But everything that mattered is in this box," I said. Nothing. She handed it to me. It was not heavy, but my hand shook anyway. The box was plain wooden with a brass clasp, old, maybe antique. She must have kept it all this time. When I opened it, I expected something symbolic, a photo maybe, or a letter written during the final days of our marriage. What I did not expect was a folded piece of blue construction paper, faded and torn at the edges. It was a card, a child's card. Inside was a stick figure drawing two adults, one child, a dog, and beneath it in childish handwriting, "Thank you for picking me. I love my new family." I stared at it for a long time before looking at Mona. Was crying, not weeping, not dramatic, just one tear carefully sliding down her cheek, like even her sadness had grown older, slower. Her name was Mia. She said I met her during a client retreat foster home in the next town over. I volunteered one afternoon to help with crafts. She attached herself to me like instantly. I waited, my hands clenched the box tighter. She was 8, smart, too smart. She asked me why grown-ups lie about staying. I did not know what to say. I told her I never lie, and she looked me dead in the eye and said, "Then prove it." She looked at me now, direct. Finally, I started visiting her every week. I did not tell anyone, not you, not even my sister. I did not know what I was doing. I just felt like she needed someone and I needed someone too. And the man I asked, my voice was low, almost mechanical. She nodded. He was her caseworker. It hit differently than I expected, not like a punch. More like that sound you hear when you drop a glass in the sink, and it does not shatter, it just rolls around, awkwardly surviving. I was not in love with him. I was trying to be needed by someone, anyone. Her voice cracked. I thought maybe if I left quietly, if I did not make it messy, if I just disappeared, you could rebuild faster. You were always stronger than me. You saw the world like it could be understood. I was always guessing. There was again that rewriting of history, that subtle shift in perspective that made me out to be the stable one, the fixed point. But what she never understood was how exhausting that role had been. I was not strong. I was just good at hiding how lost I really was. I did not come here to ask for forgiveness. She continued, I came because Mia is gone now, cancer 2 years ago, and I have been carrying this box since her funeral. I did not know who else it belonged to until now. The silence stretched again. Then I did something I did not plan. I sat beside her, not close, not warm, just beside two people, looking out at the leaves falling like memories, and for the first time in 5 years, I did not feel like I had to respond. I just had to be there. Sometimes presence is the only answer you can give to grief that no longer has words. And as the wind picked up, scattering golden leaves across the path, she whispered almost to herself, I never stopped hoping you would still be kind. I did not say it out loud, but the answer echoed quietly in my chest. Kindness is not something you owe, it is something you choose. And I did not know what came next or whether I wanted anything to, but for that single moment, I chose stillness just long enough to let the weight settle where it belonged. I did not tell anyone about that day, not my sister, not my coworkers, not even the neighbor I sometimes talk to when we are both outside watering plants at the same time. Was not out of shame, it was something else, like the story was not ready to be shared, not even with the mirror. That night when I got home, I placed the box on the kitchen counter and did not open it again. I did not need to, it had already done its work. It is strange what you remember after so much forgetting. I sat down at the table, rested my hands flat on the grain of the wood, and just stayed there. And somewhere between the hum of the refrigerator and the tick of the hallway clock, a memory came back, not one I would have chosen, not a special day, just a Tuesday. She had made toast, the house smelled like cinnamon, and I told her I could not join her for breakfast because of a meeting. She did not argue, she did not complain, she just sat at the table with her cinnamon toast and said, sometimes I wish I mattered more than your time. At the time, I thought she was being dramatic. I smiled and kissed her forehead and said something like, you know that is not true, but now I am not sure I ever proved it. It is easy to love people in the loud ways, birthdays, anniversaries, those carefully curated words we save for apologies and celebrations, but the quiet spaces, that is where it lives, that is where it grows. Or dies. I think maybe she died a little that day, just a little, the kind of small death people carry with them quietly like lint in a pocket. Funny how the little moments returned before the big ones. I did not sleep that night either. I walked the house in slow circles like it would somehow offer me answers. Every room had her imprint, not her presence, just the echo of it, like she had left behind a version of herself only I could see, not the real Lorna, just shadows and familiar shapes. I tried to distract myself, rearrange the bookshelf by color, wash the dishes by hand. Even though I have a perfectly good dishwasher, open the freezer just to feel something cold. And then just before dawn, I took the card out of the box. The drawing was still there, the 3 stick figures holding hands. One of them had little curls drawn on top, probably Lorna. The dog had a pink collar. I do not know why I cried, maybe because I realized someone had called us a family when we were not one, or maybe because I never got the chance to meet the little girl who gave Lorna something I never could. But the tears came slowly, no sobbing, just water finding its way out of a crack. They say grief has no schedule. I think it also does not care about sequence. Sometimes you mourn things years before they are gone, sometimes years after, and sometimes you do not know what you are mourning, only that it is heavier than it should be. At sunrise, I walked outside. The air was brittle, and the grass was damp. I stood barefoot in the yard, watching the sky change like it was painting itself slowly back into existence, and all I kept hearing was that sentence I never stopped hoping you would still be kind. It echoed, not like a plea but like a mirror, and I stood there whispering the words back into the wind, not for her but for me. Then let me be, because maybe kindness is not just a gift, maybe it is an anchor, and I was not ready to drift. Again, I did not wake up. I just stopped being asleep. Somewhere between night and morning, I opened my eyes and did not know what day it was. My room was dim, colorless, like it was waiting to be remembered before it returned to normal. I blinked at the ceiling, and then I blinked again, not because my eyes were dry, but because I felt like I had just missed something, like I had slept through something important. I sat up slowly, not with purpose, but with instinct, to move toward the kitchen like muscle memory. Still barefoot, still unsure what was real, there was a smell I could not place, not unpleasant, not familiar, something like warm dust and forgotten paper. It followed me to the hallway. I stood there for a long moment, staring at the framed photo I never took down, the one of me and Lorna on the ferry, wind in our faces, both squinting into the sun. She was not smiling in it. I was, but not the kind of smile I trust now. It was the kind you wear when someone says, say cheese, and you want to be what they expect. I used to believe that picture was proof of happiness. Now I am not so sure. I passed the mirror, but did not look at it. There are days when I do not want to see what my face has become. Not older, I am used to that. It is the other thing, the quietness behind the eyes, the way they never really rest, like they are always bracing for a sound that has not come yet. I walked outside, coffee in hand, sat on the steps. No one else was awake, yet the world looked soft, unfinished, a painter that had not gotten to the sky yet. I took out the card again. This time I noticed something I had not before. On the back, tiny letters, smudged pencil, almost invisible unless the light hit it right. It read, "She cried after you left. She kept asking if it was her fault." It was not Lorna's handwriting, it was a child's, and in that moment something inside me folded. I did not even remember meeting Mia. I had not. She knew about me, or at least the idea of me, but I had been erased from her life before I ever entered it. Still, she had drawn me. She had made me part of something I was never given the chance to hold. I had never fathered a child, I had never lost one, but suddenly I was grieving like both were true. I buried my face in my hands and tried to breathe through the ache, not because I miss Lorna, not even because of the betrayal anymore, but because I had finally found the wound I never named. I was not angry, I was not bitter, I was just untethered, like I had lived through an entire chapter without realizing I was supposed to be in it. How do you mourn a version of your life you never got to live? How do you forgive someone for withholding it from you, not out of cruelty, but out of cowardice? I do not know. All I know is this: I was not awake yesterday, not truly, and today I am, and now I have to carry the weight of both. The past is a room I thought I had locked, but all this time someone small and bright had been sitting quietly behind the door, waiting for me to hear her. I hear her now, and everything is different. There is a silence that does not come from outside, the kind that grows in your chest when even your thoughts forget how to finish themselves. That is what the day feels like. I left the house without knowing where I was going. I had the keys in my hand, the card in my pocket, and nothing else that felt useful. The sky was colorless, not gray, just undecided. It reminded me of the tone Lorna used when she wanted to start an argument without admitting she was angry, that strange middle ground where you do not know whether to speak or walk away. The weather felt like that. I drove without music. I used to fill every space with sound, as if silence would let the grief sneak back in, but today I let the air hang hollow, listening to the tires hum against the road like they were trying to form words they could not quite pronounce. I ended up back in the place I used to avoid most, the bookstore we used to visit on rainy days. It was still there, same crooked sign, same dusty front window with a barely working neon open sign flickering in the corner, like it could not decide if it wanted to be alive. I walked in, and everything smelled like old wood and softened pages. No one greeted me. Perfect. The floor creaked in all the same places my body moved on. Instinct turned left past the psychology section, took 3 steps, and reached the bench near the biographies. That is where Lorna once sat for almost an hour, reading about an artist who painted nothing but circles. She said it calmed her. I said I did not understand it. She did Not answer now, I understood it. I picked up a random book. I did not read the title. I did not open it. I just held it. I think I needed to feel something with weight, even if it was not mine. Across the aisle there was a man with his son, maybe 6 or 7 years old. The boy was tracing the spines of the books like they were sacred, asking questions his dad mostly ignored. Why do not books talk? The boy asked. The father said they do, just not out loud. The boy looked confused. I was not. That sentence stayed with me long after they left. I walked out an hour later, still holding the card in my pocket like a match. I was afraid to strike. I sat in the car and turned the engine on, then off again. There was nowhere left to go, so I went home. When I got there, the air in the house felt unfamiliar, like someone had opened all the windows and let the ghosts out. I stood in the living room and stared at the blank wall where our wedding photo used to hang. I had removed it years ago, but the shadow of it, the shape the light had not touched for so long, was still there, barely, but there, a kind of outline. That is what she had become. Not a person, not even a memory, just an outline around everything that still did not make sense. I poured a glass of water, left it on the counter, did not drink it. I stood by the window and watched the neighbor's kid draw shapes in the fogged glass of their car window. Circles, only circles. I closed my eyes and I swear I heard her voice, but it was not from the past. It was closer. It was now. Today began with nothing, not a sound, not a call, not a letter slipped under the door. Just morning, waiting politely. I sat on the edge of my bed for a long time, not because I was tired, but because I had the feeling I was forgetting something. You know, that weight, like a dream that is still on your shoulders but refuses to translate. I stared at the floor, toes touching the same carpet that has been here for years, and realized I could not remember the last time I noticed its color. I am sure it was beige when I moved in. It looks gray now. I made tea, poured the water too fast. It splashed onto my hand, but I did not flinch. I just watched it slide off, drip onto the counter, and disappear. Maybe pain needs purpose to matter. I did not open the curtains. Instead, I walked the house again. It has become a habit, not cleaning, not searching, just moving from room to room, as if I am checking for ghosts I know are not there. The hallway light flickered once, then stopped. I did not fix it. I opened the drawer near the hallway and found a photo I did not remember keeping. It was tucked between 2 instruction manuals for appliances I no longer own. The photo was bent edges. Afraid it was us, me and Lorna, but not the usual kind, not posed, not smiling, just a candid moment. She was looking away, half laughing. I was squinting at something behind the camera. There was no time stamped, just the feeling that whoever we were in that moment, we did not know what was coming. I stared at it for almost an hour, and then I placed it in the refrigerator. Do not ask me why. It felt right. It felt like the only safe place. Some grief has no logic. Later, I found myself sitting in the hallway, closet door cracked open, knees tucked up. I had not done that since childhood, hiding in quiet corners when the world felt too wide. I think I just wanted to be somewhere without decisions, no clocks, no sounds, just stillness. The coat smelled like dust and faint perfume, probably hers, probably not. I stayed there until the light outside shifted. I kept expecting a knock. Nothing came. Eventually, I opened the card again. Mia's drawing had not changed. Still those stick figures, still the pink collar on the dog. But this time I noticed something in the corner, something I had missed entirely. A small faint shape, an open door. Just behind the figures, sketched in soft pencil, was what looked like a doorway, not a house, not a room. Just a threshold, empty. I do not know what she meant, but maybe she did. Maybe she saw what none of us could, that some families are not broken, they are simply unfinished. That night, I did not sleep in my bed. I lay on the floor near the front door, listening to what I still do not know. Morning came without hesitation, no heaviness in the air, no strange dreams dissolving behind my eyes, just light, clean, steady, slipping across the floorboards like it belonged there. I stood by the window longer than usual, and for the first time in years, I was not trying to remember something. I was not measuring the air for old echoes. I was simply there with a coffee warming my hands and the silence, not feeling like a threat anymore. It had been 3 days since Lorna left that cafe. We had not spoken, since no more calls, no more surprise visits. She had passed through like a quiet season, and I did not chase the wind. After it turned that morning, I opened the refrigerator, and there was the photo still there next to the milk. A part of me smiled at the absurdity of it. Another part just felt relieved it was still real. I held it in my hand and studied it again, this time without looking for what was missing. For the first time, I noticed how Lorna's eyes were not tired in that photo, how my posture was intense. We were both in the middle of something soft, something unremarkable, and maybe that was the best it ever was, and the most it needed to be. I placed the photo inside the kitchen drawer, not hidden, just kept. Later that day, I walked down to the park, not the one with meaning, just a new one somewhere clean of memory. The grass was damp but green. A little girl zipped past me on a pink Scooter yelling something about dinosaurs. Her mother laughed behind her. It was a quiet kind of joy, the kind that does not ask for attention. And something in me exhaled. I sat on a bench near the pond, no phone, no card in my pocket, no questions, just the feeling that I had finally arrived in the same time as my body. The sun moved higher, shadows changed their shapes. I closed my eyes and listened, not for Lorna, not for Mia, not for what ifs or regrets. I listened for me, and there I was, right where I had been the whole time, whole after.